Hey everyone, we are still in the ZigZag task and we're doing task, no, this one here, task 13. Ta-da-da. Ooh, let's hope it's not bad luck. No, it's fine. It's actually fine because in this one we are asked to adapt the skeleton program as often, introducing the concept, just introduce concept. Now, we custom starting amount of food. So currently, well, in the previous one, we could set however many cells, but how many cells have our food cells is a simulation, is a parameter of the simulation, but we put 500 in each. Here, we're going to want to ask at the start of the application, as the user, how large the food units should be. Food units. Well, how many food units? How large the food cell? How many food units should be the food cell? Pass this as additional simulation parameters to allow the user to customize the simulation. Now, unlike the previous one where we're customizing the simulation, they're not asking us to do input validation, so we're not going to. Control-C, Control-V, F2. Oh no, F2 instead of F2. What have I done? F2. Not this one. What is happening? Yeah. F2, Z 13. Cool, let's head. Right, so it's here. Simulation number, after we've chosen, we are just going to, I guess, like do a food amount. So there's a get choice, but it's actually complete garbage. So looking at this, because I was like, well, they've got this whole thing that's literally just input. It's literally, you could have, it would be simpler to write input. And in fact, in input, you can actually pass a message. So at first I was using this with get choice, but I found out that input is no better. So we're not doing any input validation, so straight up int input, like it's some kind of... We like to live dangerously and put ourselves at the mercy of potential type errors. Food, larger. Amount of food in cells. Space, caret, space, not caret, larger than. Cool. And then what we just need to do is append this to, no, wait, hold on. The simulation we've already have been instantiated if I do it here. We want to be here, where we have the simulation's parameters away. We take food amount. I'm using a variable, I don't really even need to, right? Because then after this, I'm going to do simulation parameters dot append, and then append food amount. But now I could of course have just like chucked in this in here, but at least we see what's going on there. So this means that when simulation is created, which is right below, in its constructor, simulation parameters will now have an extra argument. That's not going to break any of these, but the cells, the food cells, right, which are here, for each of the food cells, we chuck one in, yeah, we don't want to put them in a starting nest, and that's the amount, right? So all we need to do, classic teacher's thing. It's so simple. You just need to do this. No, right? What we need to do. We have the amount of food being passed out of food amount. That is now coming from our 8. Well, a 9th, because the one at index 8 is the 9th simulation parameters, and I don't even know if I want this in an attribute, right? Because we're not going to use it anywhere but in the constructor. But hey, why not? Like, just to make it consistent, I'm just going to take this, copy it, and paste it instead of my 500. And literally, that should be all. This is when it breaks. But that should be all there is to it. Well, I mean, the test is like 1, and then put 400 in there, and then see that it does the thing correctly. 1, 1. 800, right? So like, yeah, okay, cool. Simulation number 1, simulation 1. Oh, they ask, normally that should be before. That's fair enough. We can handle this. Doesn't really matter, right? This is, I had the input and then I append it to my simulation parameters. We have this here, and if we have a look at the actual simulation, we see that our basic food unit is 800. This one got 2 of them in there. So weird, right? There's like 25 possible cells. What are the odds of a collision? Well, 1 in 25 multiply the, like, it's like the birthday problem. Right, so I think I guess that's it, which is frustrating, because this is like, it's a task, a zigzag task between 10 and 20, you expect them a little bit spicier. Still, let me just fix this real quick. What thing was I fixing? I've lost the actual code file. Yeah, so in here, if I just, not in here, when I'm starting my simulation parameters, which is kind of here, if I just do like I append it after I've gotten them from the choice, which again in task 4b was a much neater one. But if they wanted before we choose the simulation, which is what they seem to be hinting at with the order of the tests, remember you're never going to be asked to do that. Like AQA specify their task much better than ZigZag. You can't practice on this code base, but I mean, hopefully your teacher will have get you to practice the code base from the previous years. And in that case, woo, you know, like it's good to practice on this if you have mocks and stuff, because that gives you an idea of like the way the questions are done. And in particular, you will never get something where, oh, it's only in the test that I find out how something was supposed to work. Like they would say explicitly, you ask for this before you ask the simulation number. So if I just put it in, so before I ask the simulation number, I ask for the food amount, save this, and run it. And now it's asking me for that. I could put 800 here, I put simulation 1, have a look at the display the overall details, and now I've got my 800 again. I think, but it's not the single one is not in the same place. I don't really know what's going on here. Maybe there's like the seed of the random whatever generator is not quite there. But anyway, let's have a look at the. I already get the. No, I don't have it selected for compare. Let's go compare. Select for compare. Compare is selected, and let's put myself in diff mode. Here it is. It's over here. Right. Okay. So that's not working because I'm not looking at the diff. What have I done? What's happening? One sec. Why? There we go. Okay, so that's the diff. We ask for the food amount in an int input once we have the simulation parameters that we got from, you know, the choice. There's a better one if you look at 4b, if you use a dictionary and kind of look it up in there. But we get the simulation parameters, we append the amount of food at the end of the simulation parameters. There's some blank lines I've added for good measures, whatever, and then in the constructor of the simulation, we get the food amount, which I don't really need. I could just put kind of simulation parameters bracket 8, but that gets replaced in the call to add food to cell to replace the 500. So that's it. I mean, I guess task 13 is bad luck, or task 13 is much easier than 12 and 14. So I'll see you very soon for the next one, you get it. Stop recording.